The issue that I have with all this money that these guys are trying to collect, among all these taxes that they are trying to impose on us, is we cannot see where this money is going. And yet they want to collect more and even more.
Which is why I think almost everyone was frustrated. As in, unaangalia unasema njaa tu ya watu yenye miaka 10 hawatakuwa hapo. Wanataka sisi for the rest of our lives. It's some form of slavery.
It is.
In my mind. Because if you look at the older generations now, the kina Gen X's and whatnot, walikuwa wanasema by the this is a good thing. Iendelee hivyo.
These guys are fearless by the way. They do not fear.
Simlisema mkate tumetax 16%, tumetoa kwa mkate. But unaona it's not just bread.
It's not just bread.
What is being mentioned is that the Gen Zs are being incited, ati hawajui ni nini, hawajasoma bill.
I am telling you.
Ati this is fake news, ati hakuna watu walikuwa.
Because there is someone I saw they are saying at those photos of people demonstrating were Photoshop. Like what the all indications are this bill is going to pass. But I'm sure when that happens, I'm sure a lot of MPs will be recalled by their constituents. That one I can tell you for a fact.
See hati tumesema we don't want to pay taxes. In summary, if you're being taxed like a first world country,
we expect first world services.
We know that the cops are going to be violent. But our objective is not violence. Our objective is to be heard. So ukiona this is what's happening, this is what you do. To ensure that from your end there's no violence. Vitu zingine mtu anasema as in it's so diabolical that it's in your mind you're like umse ana joke, right?
Are you serious?
Then you get so frustrated that you're like aenda joke mali ingine because sahi pali imefika you can't afford to joke.
The protests have been mostly organized on social media. I have this feeling, this unsettling feeling that this government might end up banning social media. TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. I don't know what you think about that.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. You are, of course, hanging out
the realest OG in the building right now. And of course, I'm hanging out with my main man,
Aaron Umuli.
The one and only.
Every time we introduce the episode, ulikuwa na watch Reso back in the day. Vile ulikuwa unasikia tu fast forward unasikia then anatoka
two-time world champion.
I'm telling you,
John.
Yeah. Kumbuka hizo vitu
by the I used to love that show by the it was one of the shows that I don't think I ever missed it, to be honest. Isn't zile shows ungewahi miss, and I think we talked about this in a previous episode. If you ever missed the show Reso, the following day I was in the show, just don't go to school. Because
Mausi haina importance hivyo. Well, ati hiyo siku lights zililost. Wewe kuisha. Lala tu.
Huku watch.
Lala tu.
Nani sijui Stone Cold walikuwa wapigana na The Rock, na hiyo ni fight jai happen manze.
Kama unaenda shule, enda after break ya pili. Yenyewe kila mtu ashabonga juu ya highlights. Right?
Washamaliza hizo story manze. The first thing wameingia tu kwa class hata before like lessons zianze, niyo story to the whole time. Break time ni hiyo, katikati ya ma lessons bado ni hiyo.
Ilikuwa inaishia second break. So after second break ndio saa mnaanza kuongea.
Exactly.
Sasa leo mtawatch kama mnasikizana, consensus inasema leo tunawatch.
But good times lakini. Those were some really good times by the way. Kuzara siwezi kumbuka the last. As jukari so by the inakuanga squeeze. Iko. But I'm sure like it's not as lit as it was back then.
I'd say it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the characters akina Stone Cold, The Rock, The Undertaker.
I was going through I don't want to burst people's bubble. Alafu hapa niambie huyu jamaa amekuja kutuharibia Reso. But there is a lot of work that is put into any of those fights. Because unaona every season, as in there's a lot of work that's put into it that you'll still be captivated today. Probably not with the same utapata sijui kina Undertaker and whatnot.
Yeah, it's okay. But right now, if I were to watch so it wouldn't be the same. Like that feeling wouldn't be the same. Like as back then, because I'm sure, hey, those characters like in a Stone Cold, Undertaker, those other guys. John Cena pia was akina Bukati, Kane,
Randy Orton,
Rey Mysterio, Big Show. Like I wonder walikuwa OG manze during our time yani.
It was nice.
Which actually is that's a sign that we are getting old bana. If wale watu walikuwa wanachapania sawa tukiwa manze washa retire wote. So it's a new crop of entertainers manze. And I'm sure you can't even name like 5 of them.
I mean, I stopped watching Grayson. Okay. Let's not go into the reasons. I don't want to burst people's bubble. If you're watching, but it was back then. It was.
Yeah, it was.
By that it looked like na poster ka wall ka Undertaker.
Yeah, by that kina nani. I think Karamini ilikuwa na moja kayo. Sijui ilikuwa ni Stone Cold Steve Austin ama ni The Rock, but one of those. Really, really nice.
Okay.
So anyway, how have you been, manze?
I have been amazing. It's been an interesting week.
It's been an eventful week, by the way.
It's been eventful.
Especially
actually, I was reflecting. It's not just been an eventful week. It's been an eventful year.
Yeah.
A lot of things are happening.
Yeah, true.
But I'm grateful we've made it through the week. I think at least we can.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Pali tuko sai. How have?
I have been well. Apart from kuna homa ilinichapa for the past I think 4-5 days. Baby, Mr. Jage upon a home your design. At this time, you can still feel that my voice
your voice
is a bit nini.
You come and una break voice.
Yeah, exactly.
And you when you get and say, ujawa kwa nataka ku.
I'm telling you, baby. If tungeongea kwa simu like juzi ama the 2-3 days ago, I understand ungenisikia. Like my everything was just nilikuwa na homa ingine. Pesa zilikuwa na homa kayo. But at least right now,
you're recovering.
So
ni msa kuweather through ama ni watu wa dawa na
mimi wala wasa kuweather through manze. Like, kaende kwani.
Ndio nikakwambia sawa basi tumekubali.
Waoji manze we weather through manze.
I tried. Okay, I think was it 2 weeks ago pia nilikuwa na kahoma kingine kamwenda.
Yeah.
Hi. So before that nilikuwa na homa nikatumwa kwa hizo madawa antibiotics and whatnot. Healed pretty fast.
Really?
Ikaisha. But immediately I was done with that, nikaingia kwa homa nyingine. So someone told me, okay, before that I never used to take meds. But niliadvise and I was like, okay, inakaa this time nimecharazwa.
Yeah.
After immediately nimemaliza hivi ati mambo ya dawa homa nyingine ikaingia. So nikaambia my friend, acha hizi mambo za madawa. Songa na kitu bana.
Unaweza tena
wanaume ni kufarahara kunuka jasho na kumalizana na homa unyo kwa unyo.
Nakunywa dawa really.
Okay.
But other than that, I've been well. And then pia nilikuwa na feel like hii sauti inaweza fanya like nisikose kukuja to record, but like we have to like do it because if we skip one Saturday ama
we are letting some people
we are letting them down and
we are letting ourselves down.
Exactly. And I've realized that once you skip like a day, it becomes very easy to skip another day because you're like, okay, we skip the other one, so we can skip another one.
So now we wait for the right time.
Exactly. Plus, now there's a lot happening, so we just wait for the right time, okay, and then you unapata mbeka like 4-5 months you've never recorded anything, so getting back to that streak that you're on becomes very difficult.
In a streak,
in a streak by the and this is the 3rd episode since we came back. So it's
na bado tuko na inventory inventory ita release ama itapitia tena kuoshwa.
Actually by the when he says bado tuko na inventory, there are like I think two episodes that we had recorded before we took that long break that we took, but we have never released those episodes. But tutaangalia katikati hapo, maybe we'll tutaangalia tuone like, you know, one of these weeks tuseme badala ya watu kungoja Saturdays tuwadropie tu ka episode kamoja katikati ya wiki tuwachangamshe tu mara moja
tucheze kikandri
exactly by the
okay.
So but yeah, so other than that, me have been well, happy to be here, you know, another episode. And yeah, so let me just start with
wait a minute, acha tushaongea sana tukajuliana hali, si story yenye najua unataka kuelekea. Suruke tu
suruke tu story ya mafans, nataka ku appreciate mafans. Nataka niruke hiyo.
Okay, no, appreciate.
But before we go to appreciating our fans, manze, the NBA finals. NBA finals, manze. Celtics, Boston Celtics, my team. You know, all we do is win
no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'll give it to them. This season by the
yeah.
As in ile effort ilikuwa, it was clear, as
for
in
sure.
You could tell early on that watu wasipofika finali kuna mahali kimechezwa.
Yeah.
And ilikuwa imefika, I think it was 4-1, right?
Yeah, 4-1.
The
series ended 4-1, yeah.
There's a point nilikuwa naomba by this week nilikuwa naza guy
Mimi nilikuwa naona by there's a chance than Mavericks warudi warikave, but thank goodness manze Boston walikuwa home and then they just did what they needed to do.
You could also feel the energy.
Yeah.
Nilikuwa na watch highlights sana, nilikuwa na
yeah.
You could feel the energy. Iliwa psych up wakacharaza watu
sana. So right now I think also the Euros started.
You've been watching the games?
I've been so busy with NBA finals. Sijaweza ku catch up, but I've been watching the highlights. But I think that is something that at least will, you know, we will keep us busy for this month. And then I think zikiisha kuna Olympics will be starting sometime in I think August. And then something that we never talk about, but we are both fans, is Formula 1 bado inaendelea, so
to be honest okay, we're shooting this on a Friday, so leo tuko practice too.
Yeah,
I haven't watched the highlights because usually as they're running I'm usually in the office. But the last race ilikuwa Canada, right?
Yeah.
I was annoyed. Wacha tuendelee kwa sababu nitaanza hapa kwa
sasa. We don't want to spoil your mood even before we start the episode.
Tayari ushanicharaza kwa NBA. Tunataka ku But yeah, it's been interesting. For F1 I'm excited about 2025. Sai tu tuna ni ile we are weathering the storm, pia tunasema mwaka ishe tuendelee, waiting for the transition to Ferrari. Yeah.
But anyway, I think moving on from that, it's that time that we actually just also need to appreciate you guys, because this, like we are saying, this week has been eventful. You guys have like shown us a lot of love. Numbers they're looking good, manze, and we appreciate by the you guys.
So
you can't hiyo ndo kitu moja si sema hapa kwa hii podcast. You can never argue with numbers. Numbers never don't lie.
So guys, we really appreciate the support that we're seeing online. We are still requesting that you keep on with the support, because the growth for us sort of is one of the motivating factors. That these are actually conversations that should be taking place, and unfortunately or fortunately for us, we have a platform we have chosen to spark that conversation. Tumeamua ni this is wanasemanga hapa ndio tunakufia so hii ndio tunasonga nayo. So guys, again, thank you so much. If you're really liking our content, or if you know of someone who will appreciate our content, remember to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. But tunaona at least numbers zina improve. Ni kama watu walishtuka sana ukiwaambia kumbe ukicall out watu action reaction
but like he's saying, we're really grateful and we do not take it for granted. And I think the commitment that we keep saying for us is to just keep delivering great content, content that is challenging. It just inafanya msea like think outside the box. It makes you, even if it's a topic that maybe ukifikiria, once we come here and we share our views, at the end of it all unaenda ukisema by the way, I'd never thought of that thing from that perspective. Yeah, and even for me it happens a lot of times. Like I'll come here, we'll come having prepared a topic, and then you will say something and then I'll be like, wow,
or you will say something and I'll be like, wait a minute, that's very interesting.
Yes.
And we are hoping that that is what will happen, not just to us as we are carrying on with the conversations, to every single one of you who's watching. With the numbers that we have, tulipita 300 tu na tukanyamazia, my friend.
By the way, tulipita 300 sai. Actually, I think as of right now we are at 352 subs.
So very soon 400.
I'm sure by the time the episode tunai upload and then it gets to like the second, third day, we shall have crossed that 400 mark.
There's a story you were telling me ati ulikuwa unaambiana ati tuko na 181 subscribers. 181k sawa.
There's a certain friend of mine, she runs a business close to where I live. So I think aliona nimepost kwa status yangu like link ya YouTube episode moja. So I think ameona nikipost kadhaa 1, 2, 3, but something tells me she has never gotten the time to like sit down and watch us like vizuri. Maybe amekuwa akiwatch tu like to snippets za zingine, highlights. Sometimes we just chop and then share highlights and then hoping that those highlights will draw you to now watch the full video. So I was going to her shop one of these days, I think last week, but I want to just buy something, actually in a liquor shop, just to buy a drink kidogo. And then as I was there, she was like, oh, by the way, I saw you guys you have a channel, like how is it going? I'm like, oh, we're just pushing pole one episode at a time. She's like, oh, so like how many subscribers do you guys have currently? So I said 1. At that time we were like at I think 181 subscribers. So she's like, 181k. I'm like, I don't want to say no, because if I say no then like nimeshukisha hiyo nini,
stock imeangusha bei.
Stock imeangusha, alafu yako huko already I'm expect 181k. So mimi niko like, okay. I think it was one of those moments where I did not confirm nor deny. I just as in, I don't know if I nodded or I shook my head, like, and then I just tried to steer the conversation in a different direction. But if she watches this, hatujafika huko, but soon we'll get there.
Manze pole, alikuwa chokafikiria tuko 81, but we know we'll get there someday.
The only thing missing by there on that 352 or that whatever number it is right now as you're watching this episode, because I'm sure you've also subscribed and you've added to our tally, the only thing missing there is a K. So if it's 350, it's a K. If it's 400, it's just a K. That's the only thing missing, and we're hoping we'll get it very soon. So but that was that was something that happened to me, and I was like, hey, okay.
Okay, sawa. So hii dito tumechukua leo imekuwa
bado tumechukua dito nyingine
ama hiyo ilikuwa some time to vent about all that has happened this week.
See, we said it has been an eventful week.
Hii wiki
imekuwa mrefu, by vitu mingi zime happen. And one of the things that has happened throughout this week, ama Kenya imekuwa happen throughout this week is, and you all know it's the protests that have been going on as regards the Finance Bill 2024. And our topic of the day is around that. So we want to talk about, because the people that have actually driven this protest, they are the Gen Zs. And call back to an episode, like that 2 episodes,
on
prior.
Gen Zs.
We did an episode on Gen Zs, where we talked about Gen Zs and, you know, what's the fuss about Gen Zs. And we actually didn't know that a few weeks later, so
okay, so what's today's topic?
Today we are talking about Gen Z, and I want to say politics, or Gen Z and their involvement in do I say social justice and matters around, let's just say politics, just to simplify Gen Z and politics. I think in the previous episode we talked about Gen Zs and in the corporate world, I think we talked about them. I think mostly we focused on the corporate world.
We focused on the corporate world, and it was more of a comparison to the other generations that have come before them.
Yes.
But also just to mention that this is a topic we felt we needed to talk about at least, because with all that's happening na kulingana na ile mambo yote, I've seen you active online also just pushing, because one of the things that has been continuously mentioned is that Gen Zs have been pushing against. Should we just walk back and highlight what's happening?
Please do.
So if you're probably not very in touch with whatever is happening in Kenya right now, every year we do a finance bill that is supposed to help the government achieve the funds, the finance bill helps the government to get the funds for the budget. So this year's budget was about
around, I think, 3.9 trillion, close to 4 trillion.
3.9 trillion Kenya shillings. And usually once the budget is announced, there's a committee that's tasked to come up with a finance bill that will help realize that money, so that all the operations that have been included in the budget are at least feasible, right? So call back, what happened last year is there was a finance bill, the Finance Bill 2023-2024, which was quite ilitutolesha jasho. So it was very tough on Kenyans. I know it was tough for me, and we are still actually feeling the pinch to date. But the major difference between 2023 and 2024, because now we are at 2024-2025 finance bill. The major difference is, back then there were protests about the 2023-2024 finance bill, but it was pioneered, or was being driven by politicians. So it was majorly the opposition leaders who are like, we don't want this finance bill, but it passed either way. So this year what has been very different is that the two generations, led by the Gen Zs, they have been the ones who pioneered the protests. And I think just to outline, this has been a historical event.
I don't, in the few decades that I've lived in this country, I have never seen such an event. Like, even all the protests that we've experienced, this has been historic. Even all the media houses, local, international, they're saying this has been a historic moment for this country.
And I want to also underline that this have been peaceful protests.
And that is, I think, one of the key highlights of this protest. Very peaceful. No throwing stones, no hooliganism, no vandalizing of people's properties and businesses. Peaceful protest.
So what has been mentioned is, and now to put you up to speed again, what everyone who now has been involved in the protest is trying to say is that, guys, we did this dance last year, and all all that ended up happening to us was major taxes on us, but there was nothing to show for it by the end of the year.
Yeah, true.
So now what we are saying is, let us not do it again, because this finance bill is harsher than the previous finance bill. These are just the highlights. And if we're looking at what happened last year, nothing changed. So it is clear to us that whatever is happening is not going to help us. So achaneni nayo, figure out another way. That has been the highlight. If I've misrepresented anything, feel free to just share in the comments, and it's a discussion that we hope we will also be able to carry forward and just see how everything pans out, and see how the light gets at the end of the tunnel, right?
True. So actually, by the way, I think you've done a very good job just trying to summarize everything, especially for anyone who has not been following, the news, anyone who has not been, keeping up to speed with what has been happening in Kenya, in the country. Then at least now you're aware of the current situation that we are in. And I think, like you're saying, just a few highlights. Let me just share a few highlights of this budget. Like you said, the budget is around 3.9 trillion or 4 trillion thereabout, and the tax revenue that they're expecting to collect is 3.3 trillion. And then out of these, ordinary revenues are 2.9 trillion. Then there's something they called appropriations in aid. These are the collections. You see, like for example, when a state department, the fees that they collect, for example, when you go there and then they offer you services, you pay a certain amount for certain services. Yes. So those fees, they are the appropriations in aid. The ones that they maintain, they receive them, but they maintain them as part of their budget. So they do not take them back to the consolidated fund and then wait for the redistribution. So they use them as part of their budget. So I think that was around 441 billion. Those are just some figures that I'm trying to throw around here and trying to look smart, but it's just very simple things.
Okay, mimi nilikuwa nimekuja na generalization. Jamaa amekuja na numbers. Mpaka na usikuma miwani.
Lara ni na glasses baby. But actually, so me in himself finance, so these are things that they are in my
actually when we have these conversations, sometimes I forget that
himself finance. Now himself IT baby. So mnaweza sahau tuko hapa tunachapa podcast, but we still have zile professions.
We are multifaceted individuals.
Yes, exactly. So I think the contentious taxes that the things that are raising all these issues zote, there are a few, but the impact that these things would have on Kenyans and the lives of Kenyans has been serious, very serious by the way.
Very serious implications.
I think one of them is that there's a 2.5 motor vehicle tax that they were proposing. And this one, by the way, I found it to be, for lack of a better word, let me say laughable. Because the essence
is it because of the cap, or it's just the tax?
Okay, so first of all, there is the cap, because they were saying it's 2.5% of the value of the car.
With a cap of
there's a floor of 5,000 shillings, and then there's a ceiling of 100,000 shillings. So, for example, and someone did the math. For example, if you own a car worth 1 million,
1 million.
Let's say 1 million. So that's you're paying 25k. Yeah? Someone who owns a car worth, let's say, 40M, that's how much?
If there's a cap, it's 100k.
100k. But if you take 2.5% of 40M, like hiyo ni domingi sana by the way.
Oh yeah.
But say like they're only getting to pay 100 G's.
I'm hata tuseme for purposes of hesabu ndio iwe rahisi. Unajua ukinipeleka huko unaniangusha. Tumesema it's 25k
for a car worth 1M.
For tuseme nda ingine ilikuwa like 50M. Huyu jamaa na own gari mbili 50M. So tuseme ni gari za 100M, how much would they be paying?
See, still 100k. See, it's capped at 100k, by the way. It doesn't matter. Which actually people are saying that is very unfair. But even the thing that was bothering people the most was the fact that you're taxing an asset. It's you know, the essence of taxation is to tax income. You're taxing money that has been has been generated as income. But this is an asset. As in, what are you taxing? Like, what is? And then the thing is that as you're buying the car, already there's import duty that you paid. There are those customs that you paid, the excise duties and all those taxes.
By the time a car gets to you, if you are importing, you usually end up paying about double the price of the car.
You can imagine. And then, of course, there's something called an advance tax, but this one is mostly for commercial vehicles. So there's also that. There is the fuel levy that is inakwanga kwa ile price ya fuel inakwanga imewekwa hapo. And funny thing, by the way, hii pesa wote nalipa ya fuel, sijui saini, I think ni 192 if I'm not wrong. Yeah? They've been trying to like reduce it kidogo just to appease us kidogo. They think we forgot that they hiked it by sijui how much, and then now they're trying kidogo. So that thing, 76% of
that 192.
Yes. No, actually, I think the taxes on the fuel price are 76% of the landed cost. So, for example, landed cost is 100 bob. That is the price that, for example, you're supposed to nafaa kulipa like 100 bob. But now, this 92 shillings that they've added, all of this is taxes, fuel levy, CG, what, all of this, by the way.
And there's a time someone had broken down hizo villas in a...
Yeah. As in, and then you're wondering, by the way, as in, ido inaenda hapi. And actually, for me personally, the issue that I have with all this money that these guys are trying to collect, among all these taxes that they're trying to impose on us, is we cannot see where this money is going. Okay, we know where it's going. It's being stolen. It's ending up in corruption, in people's pockets, and things like that. We cannot, us as the common mwananchi, we cannot feel the impact of these taxes that these guys are collecting. And yet they want to collect more and even more.
They want to collect more. And I think now to just add to what you're saying, which is why most of us felt that it was terrible that this was happening. You see, the decisions they're making, the decisions that they are making, the decision.
There's a TV there, so, and I don't know, baby. Jika government investigate kiangalia story ya tax, and then waka hack remote, and then
utafanya ni nyamaza for the rest of the episode because I know it's actually possible.
I think that's our cue to like just hii conversation issue hapa. Hey guys, it's been real.
Thank you so much for joining. Till next time. But what I was saying was, you see, for us, most whenever finance bill is enacted, it usually does not stop there.
Yeah.
Unaona hii decision yenye imemekiwa hapa, we would more or less just end up living with it for the rest of our lives.
Yes.
Which is why most I think almost everyone was frustrated. As in, unaangalia unasema njaa tu ya watu yenye miaka 10 hawatakuwa hapo. Wanataka sisi for the rest of our lives. Essentially to kue like I'm looking at it as it's some form of slavery.
It is
in my mind, because the way if you go through now the documentation and all the details and how much you would be required to just input ama to service as tax, you'll be working for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So that ndio uishi na ukidedi kila kitu yako.
And I think that's why like the Gen Zs are really like, you know, it's they have an issue with this thing even more than I think earlier generations, because they're like, we are the ones who will be left here.
Nyinyi wote
mtakuwa mshaishia manze.
But now what I want to say there is, I think now this is also a callback to the last conversation we had on Gen Zs versus the rest of the generations. They have been able to represent themselves, and callback to that episode is that I was mentioning that it's sort of a sibling rivalry where you're like, nyi wase hamjui kile mnafanya, but at the back of your mind you're like, hey manze, si mimi pia ningefanyanga hizi vitu, because to be honest zingine unakaa unaangalia unasema god damn it even before the Gen Zs were able to vote, I know there are one or two things you are seeing, and we were like, hey, sapa msana do. But the fact that now the Gen Zs have been able to just rally and do all that they've been able to do, one has been fascinating to me, two has been very as in imespark kakitu naelewa, has been very inspirational, and okay, wacha ni summarize hapo because I know I can naweza endelea tu na
hata mimi like nime feel very inspired, and by the way, this is to all the Gen Zs out there. I feel like, and not just us millennials, even earlier generations, Gen Xers, boomers, even their parents, even our parents.
And now this is because I with all that was happening, I know the conversation that was out there was that Gen Zs have been on the front line and they've been mobilizing everything. Then millennials and everyone else support however you can, right?
Yes.
And I was very keen to listen out to what everyone else is saying. And if you look at the older generations now, the kina Gen X's and whatnot, walikuwa nasema, by the way, this is a good thing. Iendelee hivyo. Because for, right? And it is, I really want that drive to be maintained. And I believe that we can see some change, because whatever is happening is crazy. Junajua, for us, again, as millennials, I know if Gen Zs weren't in the equation, what would have happened is ungekaa chini na useme haya, sasa nitatafuta hizi pesa za tax. That was the question. Hata ingekuwa story ya now I'm representing, if you're a millennial and you're thinking different, please also just share your commentary. But I know that for the other years that I've been voting and that I've been around, these were things we're seeing happening, and we were like, hey, okay, reset, because now they've made it tougher for me. I need to elevate to compensate the toughness and all that. And that's how it has always been. But the fact that now the conversation is, hey, if there's no reason to make it tough, don't make it tough, because we have seen your track record, and whatever you're asking for doesn't have a footing, doesn't have any as in, if you look at whatever has happened historically, hizi vitu mnatuitisha hakuna mahali zinaenda. It's exactly what you're saying.
True.
Rutisha hizi vitu, wachana nazo. What the hell? Okay, sorry.
And I agree, and I think call back to the episode that we did on Gen Zs, I think a few weeks ago, a fortnight ago. One of the qualities, one of the traits that we said Gen Zs have, these guys are fearless. By the way, they do not fear, as in they you see, for us, like we're saying, older generations will just say, okay, you've decided to increase that nini, okay, sawa,
najua ni sisi tulimweka,
na hii ni serikali kisha sema imesema, hatuwezi bishana. Like you're saying, we would try and look for ways of supplementing our income. Okay, the government is taking this much, now I don't have as much disposable income as I once had. So what do? I need to find other ways of earning more vitu kaa hizo unaona, but the Gen Zs are like no, by the way, you guys, first of all, there are no jobs. By the way, what are you telling us? You are taxing us. We do not even have anything. We can't, like, you have pushed us to the wall, and now the only thing we can do is just push back. And that actually brings me back to one of the other contentious taxes that these guys had proposed, which is no, but pia like it's conversation too in jail too in too. So the other tax was the 16% VAT on bread. So there was that actually, and then there was the equal levy on diapers, batteries, smartphones, and rubber tires, as well as pia sanitary towels, sanitary pads, and things like that. So I think kwanza ile kitu pia iliwasha watu kabisa ni hizo. Kuna hiyo mkate.
What has been kile imekuwa pushed on media is that it is specifically bread. But mi nikipitia sioni kama kuna mahali imesema tu ni mkate peke yake. But it was hitting a lot of things, not just bread.
Yes.
And in some way I felt it was quite obnoxious that people, not just people, but when now it was a matter of revising the bill, watu walikuwa wanasema, I don't want to name any names, but watu walikuwa wanasema si mlisema mkate tumetax 16%, tumetoa kwa mkate. But unaona, it's not just bread.
It's not just bread.
It's a lot of things, right? And it's sorry.
But I think one of the reasons why bread was highlighted even by the media, it's because it's one of those things. It's like unga. It's one of those things that every household, as in sidhani kuna house sahi unaweza enda upate like most households by the way, unga like ni kitu basic kwa unaona. And same as bread by the way, nowadays bread imekuwa hivyo, like even in schools, high schools, primary schools, like in hata tu how I am saying, like bread has become such a basic commodity that if you dare touch it, if you dare, and the way it has become expensive by the bread, me by the I remember when I was growing up, and I think we talked about this in a previous episode. Ile time sweet gonna grow up, the bread used to cost like 20 shillings. That is a full loaf.
By the way, it started with 15, then ikasonga to 16. I remember. Then it hopped 20, then ikaruka 25. That was the trajectory ya mkate. I remember because mimi ndo nilikuwa natumwa mkate asubuhi.
Mimi nakumbuka juu nakumbuka 20 bob, and actually yes, ilikuwa actually cheaper than 20 bob mkate full, but 20 bob naikumbuka vizuri because nakumbuka nikipewa 20 bob like ile coin 20 bob hii endea mkate full ukuje na mkate half unaenda unakatiwa 10 bob unaenda unakatiwa zinawekwa hivi zinafungwa to polythene juu unaenda unapoa kama mkate half
okay.
So as in and then back then bread ilikuwa haikuwa that common, like not many people walikuwa wanakula mkate, but squeezy like imefika point where even in schools,
almost staple food.
It is almost a staple food. So when you touch bread, then unakuwa umetouch a very sensitive nerve when it comes to the normal Kenyans, the common mwananchi. And like you're saying, it's not just the bread. By the way, bread has been hiyo
ndio kama the branding.
Yes,
but the general term was hizo zote zinafaa.
There are a lot of things by the
okay, but I'm feeling like I'll go
it's a safe space. You can go by the because at this point and tumefika like because if these guys can push us to this limit, then why should we like feel as if we need to be like no, like we push back with the same vigor and the same intensity. Yeah, because
not
like
even the same intensity.
This is someone who wants to like finish you. Like you also like.
I think for us to even now, this is me trying to look at the outcomes of everything that is happening. Same vigor might be a tall order, because I was going through now the commentary and all that, and it's gotten to some extent where what is being mentioned is that the Gen Zs are being incited, ati hawajui ni nini, hawajasoma bill.
I am telling you,
ati this is fake news, ati hakuna watu walikuwa
because there is someone I saw they are saying ati those photos of people demonstrating were photoshopped. Like, what is that really? But you see, these are the same politicians. They are trying like to
wanajaribu hizi zote these are, let me call them scatter tactics.
Yes, exactly.
That wanna try to instill some level of doubt, and they will try to make it as massive as possible.
Yes.
So that, and the reason I'm saying this is because I have seen it. Again, this is probably I don't want to say how many times I've voted. This is probably my Xth time voting. And when you if you look at the politicians' playbook, either we can borrow whatever happened in the last elections. Ilikuwa mambo ya kusema hata hana watu, usijidanganye uende huko, hapa ndio kuna watu. Mimi nawaambia ni sisi ndio tunaenda. So unaona, those are scatter tactics to instill some level of doubt, to make you give up on whatever is passionate to you and whatever you want to put across. And the disadvantage that has been with the rest of the generations is that tactic has always worked.
Yes.
And now, if there is short of being insightful, if there's any advice I can offer to now the Gen Zs and the millennials, myself included, is that if it's something you need to put it across either way. Ukiona hausikiki, you need to be louder.
Yes.
Because again, as kids, these were things that you weren't told. Ilikuwa tu my friend, wewe maliza, soma, fanya kazi na udeti,
tafuta kazi kwa serikali na uende
pata bibi, watoto nini,
kula pension yako na ungoje siku zako siku ziishe uende.
But what we had to learn by ourselves is that if something isn't given to you and you know that you deserve it, you either figure out a witty way of getting to it, or just ensure that whoever is giving it to you doesn't have any other option but to give it to you. So I don't want to summarize this conversation. Nataka tuendeleze that, but because kuna some other contentious.
But I just want to touch on what you've said, that you know, the politicians are trying to like knock the wind out of our sails by saying that these protests have been sponsored
the external. I was saying some of those things.
You know, and like that very, very that one really got to me. These photos are photoshopped.
Okay, me is these photos are photoshopped. That's number one. Number two, they're saying there are external parties that have sponsored the Gen Zs to work against the government's efforts. You know,
that thing doesn't make sense because, you know, the good thing with these protests is that there is no clear leader. There is no political leader that is, you know, like the previous protests, kulikuwa na, it is maybe the opposition leading the protest. So we know it is maybe a Gwambo there and the other generals there. So everyone was just, you know, mobilizing around him. But now, there is no, you cannot pinpoint and say, you are the leader of the Gen Zs.
Where tutakuita
exactly, that is the thing. Right now, you cannot pinpoint one leader and isolate them and say, okay, you come, let us speak. And then once you speak, you maybe bribe them or give them something, and then they will go back to the masses and tell them, I think we need to give this government time. They have our best interest at heart. No, right now, it's either you call the whole group, and it's millions and millions of Kenya. You can't do that. There's no one to, you know, there's no one to bribe. There's no one to compromise. There's nothing like that. And so that notion of this thing has been sponsored. No, there's nothing like that. Gen Zs are just it's like you're saying, it's passion. People are just tired. We've gotten to the point where we're saying, no, we need to
change something.
Yes.
And I don't know if we can probably just take a minute to now not even talk about what is meant to happen, but to just see when these bills are being drafted, the process probably should be, okay, the committee has worked on the bill, whichever bill it is. No, let's just talk about finance bill 2024-2025.
Yeah.
There is some level of civic education that needs to happen so that everyone knows that, okay, now that the budget is out, this is the proposal that we will impose this whatever the finance bill is talking about, so that we are able to meet the budget's needs, right? And from there, ama hii ni vile sasa mimi nilielemiwa nikiwa mtoto, okay, zile ma GHC and all that, we were supposed to the MPs were supposed to listen to their people. Waseme sasa najua tumewasomesha, tumewaambia hii bill inasema A B C D E F G H, mnakubali ama mnakataa? Right? As Haron, as the MP of wherever, tuseme
let's use a random constituency like Thika. Let's say Thika town constituency.
Tuseme Haron wa Thika, as in you're supposed to ask out and say, ama if you don't know, this is a summary of what the bill is going to imply. These are the implications of the bill.
Yes.
Do you want it to go? Ama what do utanituma nifanye nini huko, right? Because that if you look at the arms of arms of government, that is what parliament is for, right?
Yes.
That in afar, parliament is supposed to act as the ear of the people.
Yes.
And if you are a representative in parliament, it means that wewe unafaa kukua, you know what your people want, you know the agendas of your people, and you're running to parliament to represent the people, because Harun Mumuli is the MP of Thika. Watu wote wa Thika hawezi enda parliament kujirepresent. They just elect one person.
They give you that mandate to go and represent their interests there.
Unless sasa I'm interpreting my own things, and as far as now tukiangalia all the documentation including the constitution, that is exactly what's supposed to happen.
That is it.
But what we are seeing happening is
it's
just
the complete opposite. By the way, people are just going there to represent their interests. And like we are saying, just for example, the people of Thika constituency have said overwhelmingly, we do not want this bill to pass. So as our MP, when you go to the house, when that,
what do you do?
The people have told you you need to go and vote no. So you as the MP, in your wisdom, all your wisdom, you've said, okay, I've heard what the people have said, they want me to vote no, but since I am a member of the ruling party, the majority, I cannot go against my president and my party. So
these are shocking times.
So I vote according to how my party wants me to vote, which is yes. As in, the people are saying vote no. They are telling you this.
Vote
and no. These are the people that you are
that elected you to
represent them and their interests. And you're going against that just because your party, the party that has sponsored this bill, has told you to vote yes. As in, by the way, what kind of country are we living in, to be honest? In all honesty, as in, what is that? Like, what is, as in, that is beyond belief. Like, what kind of representation is that, to be honest? And I think the solution to that, if someone cannot represent your interests there, and this is in your interests zenyu mnataka, the only solution is to just recall that person, because you're like, okay, maybe you did not understand the assignment, maybe
by the way
maybe
ni sawa labda okay labda tafuta constituency ingine but
by then exactly tafuta constituency ingine enye ikikwambia uende ufanye hivi you go and do the opposite
because you are your own person and you are your own decision maker.
But for us as a thicker constituency or degree or whatever, if we tell you please if we tell you please go and vote no, we expect you to go and represent us the way we have asked you to represent us. And by the way, it's sad that we have gotten to that level where like our MPs are just doing things like that. And if you will just allow me, there's a very, very disturbing tweet here that I came across. I actually won't even mention where it's, but it's by a member of parliament. This member of parliament says, yes, the people of this constituency elected me, but I'm in parliament to serve and represent the will and wishes of President William Ruto and his government. I cannot go against my master and friend, the majority leader, Kimani Ichung'wah. I will vote yes. As in, that is an MP, a sitting MP, telling the people of the constituency that they represent.
So he's aware that the people are saying no.
Yes.
He knows.
Okay. But he's saying, you guys, I can't do that. I cannot go against. But then I actually saw that and I was like how? And you even have the audacity to say that publicly in front of people. It's very sad, by the way. It's a sad day, I think, for Kenyans. It's been imekuwa wiki ingine tricky. And I'm by the way, this one I'm sure, and I'm sure by the way, because I'm all signs according from all signs this bill is likely to pass. Because I think even there was the first reading. I don't know whether it was the first reading just the other day, and then they actually had, I think, 204 yeses, and then no's. The no's were, I think, 115.
204 versus 115.
So yes, all indications are this bill is going to pass. But I'm sure when that happens, I'm sure a lot of MPs will be recalled by their constituents. That one I can tell you for a fact.
Is that a prayer, or that's a certainty?
I actually, that is a prayer that I have personally, that the people take that initiative and just recall some of these people that are not representing their interest. If you're representing your interest, then there's hatuna kazi yako we ishia basi ukue like representative wa chama mtaa tukaa hizo
tunakutakia mabaya, just represent a different constituency.
Exactly by the. And I think I don't know, I'd love to hear by the what you guys think, because for me actually that is my stand. If anyone does not represent your interest and you voted for them to represent your interest, then that person is not fit to serve as your elected member of parliament. You need to recall them. So yes, and yeah, but anyway, one of the that was hiyo kitu ilinibreak sana. I won't lie to you. I read that and I was like nilichoka. But I think one of the things about this protest is the population iko well informed. People, it's not like ebu like a few years back, maybe like 3, 4, 5 years back, even during the Uhuru regime, hakuna mtu hata alikuwa anasikia story ya finance bill. No one even tulikuwa tunasikia okay, budget imesomwa, the minister goes with that.
Actually nilikuwa tunasikia budget, unashtuka zile vitu zimewekwa, then nasikia finance bill imepitishwa.
Exactly.
Then mnaambiwa okay kuna hizi taxes. Ujui hizi taxes, soma finance bill.
So but now I think last year, the last finance bill and now this one, people have been informed. Like kumekuwa na information out there and people watu wako na desire kutaka kujua what is happening. Okay, so you're saying you're increasing taxes on what exactly are you increasing? Okay, it's fuel, oh it's bread, oh it's diapers, oh it's what by that one no. People are actually like now vested, them were very much interested in what is happening with the finances of this country, and I think that is a very very good thing for all of us, by the way, because now people wako interested now wataka kujua. And for even protest to be there, lazima kukuwe na hiyo point ya information. What are you protesting about? Lazima mko informed, like these are the things that are happening and we don't like them, so can we have them changed? And for me I think that is
that's like the first step.
Yes, that is the first step.
The next step is okay, we have figured out that whatever we're trying to say is not being taken by the people who need to take it in. So what are the options in our chambers? What do we have in our itinerary to either now get to where we want to be? Because again, I recall to what you were saying is si hati tumesema we don't want to pay taxes. In summary, if we're being taxed like a first world country, then
we expect first world services. We expect to go to the hospital and find kuna dawa by this. How many times? Yes, by the I expect very good education by the how many times do people go to hospitals, public hospitals, and then you're told hakuna madawa? Ni mara ngapi? How many times do we hear it in the news? Kuna shortage ya madawa. As in so many times by the way. Juzi the JSS teachers, the junior secondary school teachers, so walikuwa wamestrike hapa juzi. You know, and I think government decided to I think iliwaterminate when walikuwa on strike. Madaktari, doctors were on strike just the other day. Sindio? As in there's so KSL. Much like kuna issues mingi sana, but and then you this thing actually I'm not even sure I can be able to finish this episode because this thing is very personal, because there's so many issues, and then you're coming again and telling us that you need more money, but we ile yenye ulichukua hata last time we don't see where did it go, like where hakuna impact. And like you're saying, if the services that were being offered by the government were first world, if you were offering, you know, there was healthcare, good healthcare, affordable healthcare for every citizen, there's, you know, education iko tu sawa, the roads ziko, you know, electricity, connectivity, if those things were there and you can actually see them by the hakuna, in fact just take the whole salary, mi ntachill tu ningoje mnifanyie hizo vitu zingine, unaona. But if there is nothing, we can't see any of this. and like we know the issue with corruption in Kenya, like we know a lot of this money is ending up in people's pockets, and I think hiyo ndo ile kitu inauma watu kabisa. Like it's like you're saying we need to, unakumbuka ile swali tulikuwa nafanya tukiwa high school, there was there's a bucket here, and then there's one tap, and then there's a hole, two holes, and then there's two taps, and then the question was how long will it take to fill that bucket if there are two taps and then there are three holes. I don't know if you remember, there was such a question in I think physics. I think physics. In physics, So here the scenario here with this government is they want to increase wanataka kuongeza the tap huku juu yenye ina pump maji, yenye inamwaga maji kwa but they are not filling the holes on this bucket. ama at the same time they're increasing hii volume ya maji inaingia kwa tap huko juu, wana increase pia hizi shimo ziko huko chini.
But now go back to what happened last year. If you look at the bill, the objective was to increase the taxes. But ukiangalia 2023 versus 2020 versus 2022, and historically,
they didn't even hit their collection targets. And that is the thing, there's a point where there's a point beyond which if you increase taxes, it becomes regressive. So now people will find ways of trying to avoid paying that tax. You will discourage people from actually investing in your economy because the taxes are too punitive. They're like, okay, let me just go to neighboring Uganda or TZ, produce there, manufacture from there.
This I think also applies to businesses as well.
Yes, even businesses.
I remember when we were looking these economic classes, I know you must have taken a couple of more than I did probably.
Yeah.
But ato pia taxes iko na elasticity yake.
There's actually a curve called the Laffer curve. It's a U-shaped, like, an inverted U, where if you increase the taxes, collection will also increase up to a certain limit. Beyond which, if you continue increasing the taxes,
it becomes diminishing returns.
Yes, exactly. And that is exactly what is happening in this case. And I don't know, the economists that are advising this guy, I don't know, like, because, like, I don't know, things are just happening like in reverse, like missy get.
Episode imekuwa ya
Better missy get, because it's either an event hapa ama kwa ground ni fuatane. But anyway, actually, and one of the as we are talking about, one of the traits of these demonstrations is that zimekuwa very peaceful. Very peaceful. Haujaona watu wakirusha mawe. Previous demonstrations zilikuanga people go vandalize property and things like that, but these ones
very peaceful.
No one is.
And I like that I was watching a video where I don't know if it where as in guys were actually being trained yenye mnaambiwa okay,
really?
We know, there's this lady on I saw it on I think it was Twitter, just a Gen Z by the way, alikuwa anaambia we know that the cops are going to be violent, but our objective is not violence. Our objective is to be heard. So ukiona this is what's happening, this is what you do to ensure that from your end there's no violence.
What?
It was, I'm telling you, ushaisikia A1. This is A1. Mi nakwambia it was You're
not serious?
I'll share that video.
That one I need
big
to
up
see it.
To everyone who stepped up and just ensured that the voices and what I am sure and what I know is the representation, although it was majorly by Gen Zs, everyone in the country is feeling
yes,
or at least everyone I have interacted with, and that's quite
everyone I've interacted with, they are for this protest and they are supporting the Gen Zs and the millennials and they're saying you keep going. But I love that at least people are saying, okay, this is what we are going to do, we are not violent. If they choose violence, this is how we are going to react. But that is really nice, and it's I think it's very sad also, considering the approach that the Gen Zs and the millennials took. Very peaceful approach, but then the reaction from the police, why do Kenyan police do that? Like, these are peaceful protesters. I don't know if you've ever seen like protests like in other countries. Watu tu wanagather tu vizuri, they march pole pole, like they are just shouting, they have their placards and everything, they are not doing anything, and police are there to protect them. They're actually protecting the protesters. They're like, okay, we are with you. And I think even the constitution provides for that protesters.
Wait, you're thinking it
actually does. Like, protesters wanafaa waprotectiwe as wana protest by the as far as, and actually I think I even have that nini, if I'm not wrong, that particular
article.
Yes, actually it's Article 37 of the 2010 Constitution. It says every person has the right peaceably and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. Everyone has that right. So we have
the right to public authorities.
Yes.
So,
and to present our petitions to public authorities. To us to peaceably and unarmed to assemble. Okay, every person has the right peaceably and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. So whatever.
Assemble is number one, which are now the protests.
Yes, exactly.
Demonstrate was number two. So now the placards, the whatever was happening, and whatever was happening on social media.
Yes.
And picket, that is covered in assemble.
And present petitions to public authorities.
But present is not exclusively tied to assemble. So it means presenting could be through assembly.
Yes.
And presenting could be through contacting.
Yes.
Whoever is your public official.
Exactly.
And
by there, I actually saw that people leaked the phone numbers of most of the members of parliament, and then guys were actually sending them messages, calling them, telling them, by there you need to reject this thing. We are the people. Salimia huyo. Which was really nice, by the way.
Busy.
And funny thing, there was an interview on I think on Citizen, one of I think was it yesterday or the day before? And then there was a lawyer there who was asked by actually Jeff Koinange. He asked the lawyer, I think it was Paul Mwangi, an activist back in the day in the 90s. He asked him.
I remember.
Yeah, Jeff asked him, is it legal for what people are doing, like releasing the numbers of and then that lawyer was officials. Like, as long as you're a public official, your life is not public. Your number can be shared to everyone.
Oh, sorry, your life is not private.
It's not private. Your number can be shared to everyone.
Actually,
and
should be.
Yes, that's the word. Should be shared. And these people can contact you because you are their representative. And you're a public official. And he said, even for the president, his number, it can be shared and people can just reach out to him and say Mr. President,
najua mmesema mkate pahali fulani ni bei fulani, but hapa nimeona ikiuzwa.
Yes.
Tufanyaje? Sasa tutadu.
Yes. So actually, when you unasema that was one of the ways of actually presenting their petitions to their public, to their elected leaders. This thing has been awesome, by the way. It's been awesome, very well organized. That is also one of the traits of these demonstrations. Very well organized, guys. Like we were saying, there's no clear leader of this generation, these protesters, but they just assembled. Avengers assemble. And it happened in different, in Nairobi, in Eldoret,
I saw Thika, I saw Kericho.
Yes.
It was actually it was a lot of places.
Very well organized.
Mombasa,
protest.
how are you failing to mention Mombasa?
Kisumu, Kakamega. As in,
Kakamega as well?
Yes, even Kakamega. I saw Kakamega by there. And as in, people are coming out and saying, no, we are tired by there. And I loved that. The level of organization, especially considering the fact that there is no clear leader. It's not like previously when Agwambo used to say, okay, tomorrow we are meeting at everyone to kila mtu ajitokeze wherever you'll be. This one, it's just the youth organizing themselves online, TikTok, Twitter, and people are just showing up, as in Facebook. As in, me, by the level of organization that the Gen Z have, they've had with regards to this protest, it has been impressive.
And getting things done.
And actually,
I think it's a conversation that we're also sharing in the last episode when we're talking about Gen Zs, that ni mtu tu ataamua hii hapa ni hivi ndio tunasonga na vile atasonga nayo hata yeye mwenyewe utakuwa you'll be impressed with what has happened. And I know it's happened to me more than once, that you will think that this is the way, but vile this other thought process will just address it in some interesting way that pia huko za okay hapo umenishainia that ni sawa, let's move. So it's impressive. I agree.
I'm curious, like, what do you think has contributed to the success of this protest? Because like we are saying, this is a protest imekuwa historic. We have never seen anything like this in Kenya. At the top of my head, it's a couple of things. There's a general frustration with how things are being run. That's number one.
Number two, access to information these days is just we can fact check you. I remember back, if you now compare with how it was back in the day, fact checking someone was just was crazy, kwa sababu ungesikia news leo, by the time you fact check it's a week past, so someone mtu tu it's a week plus. Alafu you've seen, I was also noticing that there was general rush to have this bill passed. And I like how these days, let's even take the example of you were mentioning JK Live, where someone was being asked some questions, and in the event that kama ulikuwa tu hapo umekaa as a politician or someone else, in the event you're lying, someone would even fact check you on Twitter, and it would be read in that same platform. That's how
we are here in studio. I'm giving you facts, and then someone is busy tweeting.
And on Twitter, anasema huyu jamaa amewachocha my friend.
And then Jeff reads that tweet.
And anasema hiyo tweet. Because like I remember what's his name? The banker who started. I know we watched that same interview because you've just mentioned the banker who started it. There's a tweet Jeff was reading, and was like, "Let me read that tweet. That's my brother."
Oh yes. Oh yeah, I watched.
Which just shows you how fast information flows, right?
Yeah.
And so many other things. So that's number two. The general frustration, information. Then there's a general fatigue with how much real estate, how much space, all this, let me call them, I want to call them taxes, but see taxes, kuna a lot of things that are happening, but kwa all our income, how much real estate has been taken by the government on our income. That as an individual, probably if you look at 2 years back, if I was earning the same, I'd be mfuko ingekuwa tu sana. So there's some, as in kama watu wamechoka. Then finally what I think has also contributed is the lack of change in the sense that unaona the conversations that have been around ni zile tu zenye zimekuwa, that there's hii hapa tumesonga 0 to 100 as far as taxes, as far as promises, as far as what, but ukiangalia kwa ground
there's nothing to show. And everything looks like there won't be anything to show. True. In general, tunabaki na skeleton for a country. So it's unfortunate, and I think in general hata pia ukiangalia unaona tu all your spidey senses are telling you this is off. It shouldn't be this way. I think something else that has also like, contributed in addition to, the age of social media that we are in now, like you're saying, information now is, chap 2 seconds you've gotten information, you've fact checked someone and things like that. I think also the support from the older generations, the millennials, the Gen Xers, the boomers, because even parents are telling their kids, by the way, we are proud of you. We also tried to demonstrate a few years back, but this is the farthest we could get.
And it's also been sorry for cutting you short. It's also been a conversation of, do not let this happen, because the last time this is how they. And if you what I want to also just share is, there's a conversation I was in some other day, I think it was, I don't know, but if you look at the politics that is happening, it's almost like a game of chess, that you will think that in a ninisai, but it's going to play to support something later. That by the time a finance bill is happening, there's someone who has already planned for the other things that will come immediately after finance bill. That if you do not have your own strategy, you will keep on losing. And I think just to mention too, I don't want to sound like I'm saying that it's a losing battle, but I want to say that if there is no strategy as well from now, Gen Zs, millennials, and everyone else who is frustrated with whatever is happening, we will keep on losing, because we are seeing that if you look at Parliament, the loss of 204 versus 115 was majorly because immediately after inauguration, there was major efforts by the government to swing as many from the opposition party to the ruling party, right? So now and I know,
and that's why
for
we
most
don't have
of
an
us,
opposition right now.
Okay,
It's
we
very
do have
weak.
it's a weak opposition that itakuwa tu wanakaa and they're like, we're so frustrated with what's happening, but because they don't have the numbers, they don't have the voice where they need to have a voice, a lot cannot happen. So you see, the finance bill is able to pass now, or is looking like it will pass now, because of an action that occurred 2 years ago. So now, if I can share one thing, wacha niseme, hata pia sisi, even though right now this is the action,
you need to like, you need to start playing
strategize.
chess.
It's almost like chess, because it's a game of strategy, and we will keep on losing.
But I hadn't seen it from that perspective, that these people started strategizing immediately after winning the election.
Immediately.
Whatever.
I'm telling you, this episode has been a political episode.
Wow.
And I know it doesn't stop there. So kidhani inaisha sahi, itaendelea tu. And so hapa ndio unasema, and so on and so forth. So I know si kitu yenye by kesho the frustration will have let up. And if we can just ensure that whatever we are feeling now, I'm not saying ati beba yo chuki. I'm saying forgive but never forget. Because
and that is one thing. That is
showing,
one thing about Kenyans. We forget very easily.
We forgive and forget.
And we've like, because I'm sure even, for example, all these issues that we're having right now, come 2027, I'm sure people will have forgotten.
Don't be sure anymore.
Okay. Judging by history.
Okay.
If I just use that to,
it was millennials.
Yes,
and
we have been very forgetful. Like, our collective amnesia when it comes to such issues, we will just forget. 2027, we are back to voting along our tribal lines. We are back to unadanganyiliwa ati sijui I'm fighting for you, and then we give you our votes and things like that. And I hope this time round,
I'm quite confident that there will be change this time, because again, you see, if again call back to the last episode, that as in you we have been very, I don't know the term, but tumekuwa very keen on how Gen Zs are doing their own thing. And ni ile yenye umekuwa ukiangalia unangoja senye ateguke na hateguki. And that's why hata kwa hiyo episode I was saying hapa you are envious, because you're like hizi vitu pia mimi naweza fanya, mbona sijaifanya, right? So I think with now that generation, things will happen slightly differently. And if it's a request, I don't know how to put it forward, but I'm saying if we can also just strategize, 100 to I'm saying it going places.
Good, eh? Yeah, I totally agree. I think before we go on to the last portion of this episode, there's something that I wanted to mention by the way. And during the protest, I saw something very, very, it was very beautiful. There were doctors, I don't know if you saw it.
Oh yeah.
There were doctors, nurses.
There were doctors, nurses, and they asked for crowdfunding, and they were given crowdfunding, so they had their first aid kits, and there was a procedure on how to refer, so that in the event you're injured, they'll offer first aid, then now refer once you're stable.
That was, I saw that, I was like, wow, this is really nice. To be honest, this is...
And not just that, what I was also seeing was now the lawyers were going to... It was impressive, by the way.
Very.
The police stations, and now declaring, okay, sawa, umemshikia nini?
Exactly.
Kama hauna reason ya kumshika, what anafanya nini hapa?
The person was exercising their Article 37 right to assemble.
Yes, as the constitution gave them the right to do whatever. Unamshikia nini?
Hey, who are you?
And by the way, it was impressive.
That was awesome.
Jalala, wacha nikwambie tu, I haven't been sleeping. Hapa nimekuwa tu I was tapped in. Nilikuwa za and they did what? I'm like, okay, hapa wacha nimeambiwa kama millennial share
share. So, and I think that is part of our the role that we also playing, the supportive role that we also playing as millennials and older generations. We may not go down to the ground and protest, which we should actually, but if anyone is not able to go there and protest, you can always retweet, share, these things by the way, so that
it's the entire conversation.
Yes.
If you can't run, walk.
Exactly.
If you can't walk, crawl.
Yes.
If you can't crawl,
exactly.
As long as you move,
just keep moving. No matter what, just keep moving. And like you're saying, lawyers were just bailing. Actually, I heard that some lawyers were saying that if you don't have money for cash bail, we will bail you out. As in, guys were. And like you're saying, even the doctors, they
it was crowdfunded.
Yeah, it was crowdfunded. That was awesome by then. And then you saw them out on the ground, just attending to people who had been injured and things like that. I also, there's this video that I also saw on social media of a certain restaurant. This one I'll actually shout it out. It's called Golden Star Restaurant. I don't know if you saw it. They were giving people water bottles and things like that. I think I saw Java as well. Oh, and Java as well, by the way.
There's a third one, I'm forgetting the name. But shout out to all the businesses, organizations that have come out supporting whatever cause, whatever efforts have been put forward by the...
Yeah. And I think even our influencers, they added fuel to the flame, which was really appreciated, because these guys, they actually have a lot of influence. Like, you'll find people who have 1 million followers. These people are, most of them are maybe Gen Zs and millennials who are following you,
who are following and who are boosting your your presence.
Yes, they are. And by the way, influencing you as an influencer. leadership is actually that. Leadership is being able to influence people. So you as an influencer, do not even just look at yourself as just an influencer. You are a leader, and these people are looking up to you, your followers. So times like these, you're called upon to just
times like this.
This is a very we are calling it a very historic time in in this country. So like as an influencer, it's a monumental occasion. So please just lead, like show leadership to the people who are following you, and because we know that this thing, we need to come together as all Kenyans and just make sure that we have each other's interest at heart. I think before we finish, there's something that I saw. Remember after the first protest on June 18th, and then on Wednesday, or actually that Tuesday, I think in the afternoon, the ruling party had met, I think, at State House, and then they came out and then they said, we have heard, we've listened, we are a listening government, these are our concessions. So they said, okay, we shall drop some of these taxes. And then I think a day later, I think on Wednesday or Thursday, the CS of National Treasury sent a letter to the budgeting committee in Parliament and told them, okay, these concessions that you guys are saying, we will reduce our revenues by 200 billion, thereabout. So, because our income will reduce, then it means there are things that we'll need to cut on. So these are some of the things that they were saying they're going to cut on in the budget. Budget for medical interns, 3.7 billion, slash it to zero. Budget for fertilizer subsidy, cut by 5 billion. Budget for the JSS interns, the junior secondary school teachers, 18.9 billion to zero. They slashed the whole thing to zero. Those JSS teachers, education, these are things that are really, really critical to us. Education, there's that fertilizer subsidy, there's the medical interns, infrastructure as well, the school feeding program. They say that they're going to reduce it from 3 billion to 1.3 billion. And then the sad thing is, these guys it's like they are gaslighting us. They are like, okay, so you say you don't want us to tax bread. Okay, Sarah, we'll show you. Pesa ya Didi, CDF, NGCDF, we are reducing it. Pesa ya fertilizer subsidy, there is no more. Like, what is that by the? It's like, and then wanna target zile area like critical. They have wajaguza. I didn't hear that CS talk about the corruption. I didn't hear that CS talk about the money that you are paying to go and renovate State House and the deputy president's house, and all these other things, like the recurrent expenditure. I haven't heard them say they'll take pay cuts. I haven't had, sijasikia wakisema they'll slash the budget for the National Treasury itself, because I think it got like 6 billion, and you wonder what is it for by the. So I think that was a very low blow by the CS National Treasury. As in, you cannot do that. You cannot just come back and tell Kenyans, okay, sawa, we shall not tax bread, but you will see.
Actually, but that was an actual, but you will see from the CS. And
so that was by the very
very distasteful.
Very distasteful by the. And then even the NG, there is the NGAAF, which is the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, which is managed by the women reps. They said it's going to lose 1.5 billion. Like, you can imagine things like that. NGCDF reduced by 15 billion. So every constituency will lose 50 million. Cash transfers for the elderly, 5.5 billion. Like, you wonder. And so when you see guys protest, like, these are some of the things why guys, this generation, is going out there to protest. It's very sad, by the way, to be honest.
It is sad, but I'd say it's more unfortunate that and I'll add it to the reason why this was so successful. There is a clear disconnect between the government and the people.
Yes.
That it is clear that they're disconnected. If you hear the comments that are coming out from the members of parliament, from let me just say the government in general, there's a clear disconnect. Juu kile mtu anaongea unasikia ndio like
you wonder like did I hear that right, as in like I would listen to this guy tell me whether.
Alafu unajua vile wanaongea pia, I think it's gotten to a point that disconnect is the delta is so high that imewapea kiburi. Wako naka, because some of the comments you're reading I have an allegiance.
The audacity.
Na jamaa amekaa tu hapo sawa.
You wondering
let it be any other area of work. Hata tuchukue tu field. Let's take any other field. Daktari tuchukue daktari. Daktari anasema mimi kama daktari najua that tiba tuseme tiba ya kuumwa na kichwa najua ni paracetamol, but I know this is what will help me and the people.
You can imagine by the way
kitu ingekosha
that one.
Any other field you would have gone home
kitambo sana by the I think our politicians ndo wako na, we have given them that liberty to actually say some of these things and get away with it, to actually do some of these things and get away with it. But I think winter is coming for all of them, and like wachunge 2027
winter imefika, and I would say winter ikae for as long as it needs to, for as long as it needs to be. Wacha wabaki kwa hiyo school, because with the jokes that they are, there's a comment I saw online, and what they were saying is vitu zingine mtu anasema as in it's so diabolical that it's in your mind you're like umse ana joke, right?
Are you serious?
Then you get so frustrated that you're like aenda joke mali ingine, because sahi pale imefika you can't afford to joke.
Hizi ni lives za watu unacheza nazo. By the way, ni life ya wase, because people don't have jobs, and those that have jobs you're squeezing
na kamwa 100%. Hata you're not squeezing those that have jobs. Unakamua wenye wako na kazi na wenye hawana kazi alike.
Exactly.
Because the bill was proposing, right, that for even if you're an independent in a household,
what is that?
It was very
what is that?
Unaona ndio nacheka, it's very funny, but like hapana hizi si za jokes. Pereke jokes.
No, kuna ile point unafikanga umejam hadi sasa the only thing you can do is just laugh about it, because like ukijam zaidi hapo utachizi. So but anyway, before by the last thing before we
this is the last thing.
I want to hear your thoughts on the threat by the anonymous group. You saw it, Actually, you can actually tell them who anonymous can.
So anonymous is I want to say a global. It's actually almost like what the Gen Zs did.
Yeah.
These are anonymous individuals who are from different parts of different countries. No one knows where they're from.
Yeah.
But
hence the name anonymous.
Hence the name anonymous.
Yeah.
But what they do really well is they can hack things. They can hack. Let me say in general, they can hack systems.
Yeah.
So with that, what it means is information that probably did not need to get to people might end up getting to people. And they use that as activism for them. That they'll come to you and they'll say, we've noticed that you have been doing this. Either retract, change your ways, or we will. At least that's what I've seen happening with the history. I think they started back in, is it 2007? and they started small scale. They were focusing on specific countries, but they grew so fast, and it was if you look, they have a huge track record, because 2007 till date, some of the things that they're famous for, okay, I can't mention them out of it, but they have done quite a bit of expose that has really threatened the people who are, let me call them oppressors in such scenarios, because what they'll do is, if they identify you as an oppressor, they will say, do A or we will do B. And B for you usually is detrimental. So like, we will hack your accounts, probably if it's whatever accounts, we will leak your information so that you're easily reachable. And you see, in this day and age, information is called back to the numbers that were being shared, which should have been available in the first place. And now everyone in parliament was like, nimepigiwa na watu wangu, nimesalimiwa. So what they did is they released a statement, and that's how usually they start. They'll release a statement and they'll say, we have been watching closely what has been happening. So in summary, they're like, we've seen in Kenya that there's this bill that is almost being released, being passed by parliament, that is very what's the term?
It's oppressive, for lack of a better word, and the taxes are punitive.
And it's watu hawaitaki, right? And we have seen that the people who want to pass it clearly after their own interests. So they sent a warning, and they were like, you need to listen to the people, because as what we've seen what we've seen is that these are peaceful protesters, and they're expressing their rights to protest and expressing themselves within the constitutional rights. And they're like, we're giving you time to just think about what you're doing. We have people, essentially it was their you know that what's his name, this guy who calls and is like, I do not know who you are, but I will find you.
Is it Liam Neeson?
Yeah, it's Liam Neeson.
It's
Liam Neeson. So that was their that was their warning shot, and they're like, we will access your information and we will leak it to people, and we will put you at a standstill if you decide to proceed. That was their first warning. Usually that's what they do. They'll do a warning, then after the warning they will do whatever they promised they'll do, or they'll, in some situation, they'll send a second and they'll be like, we've seen that you've decided to move forward. This is what happens next. Or they'll just do it, and then they will claim, we did this, we told you, you didn't listen, and now everything is. And usually whatever they do has had real consequences to the, let me say, perpetrators. I don't want to refer to anything because I know it won't be as precise information, but I would just like, even just go to Wikipedia and see what Anonymous has been doing. It's real activism from the end, but they're doing it from it's from a cyber aspect. I don't know how to term it, but they're doing it from that aspect, that if you have information, they'll figure out how to get to it.
But that was awesome, and I think okay, let me just tell you what I think. Let me share my thoughts. I hope that they will expose the corruption. For me, number one thing is corruption, because I'm sure the level of corruption that's iko kwa hiyo parliament na in our government. The president, I think the previous president Mwanyali admit that we are losing 2 billion every day to corruption. So the amount of money that we are losing to corruption is a lot. And from where I see it, if we could just handle this corruption monster, deal with this corruption monster, we wouldn't even need to raise all these taxes that we are raising right now.
And even if we would need to raise it, because I am sure this is also your feeling, even if we needed to raise that much tax, we would be content.
Yes, by the way.
That
exactly.
You're like, from where I sit, sijai kosa stima, sijai kosa net, barabara, public transport. I usually, you go online and you see the countries that are almost taxed as, I would say rampantly, that's taxed as well as we are taxed. And hizo ni places zenye there's a bus every, let's say, 15 minutes that will take you from wherever you are to probably your workplace. Zero cost. Education, imefika a place where education is tailor-made to your strengths. Hopes and dreams. Hopes.
But anyway, for me, I hope they will expose the corruption within government and within, in parliament, in just, I think that is something that most Kenyans would be very glad to see, because once that corruption is exposed, then we can be able to hold some of these leaders accountable. They can even be taken to court and just, so I think
we have really taken a bit of time.
We have taken a bit of time, and rightly so, because this is a very sensitive topic. It's a topic that is close to, personally, my heart, and I'm sure a lot of people.
So, why is it?
Because this is our lives that this government is gambling with. It's the lives of Kenyans. People, it's in livelihoods za wase manze. Watu wanashindwa kukula, watu wanashindwa kusurvive. So hiyo amefika ile point it's either you tax me to death or I just do something about it, because if I just sit and wait, then I will probably not even be here to maybe vote in the next government in 2027. So I'd rather just do something right now, because if we decide to still endelea na this route, and I think I had some of the Gen Zs saying that that's the reason why they don't even want to have kids, because like you're having diapers. Kids, what will diapers ndo hizo, sanitary pads ndo hizo, mkate ndo hiyo, utawalea aje? You don't have, hakuna makazi, kazi zenye ziko mnataxiwa sijui pesa kama yote. So they're saying like, hey, where will I take the kid? Sawa, you're telling me to have, where will I take the kid? I can't. And tutamfanyia nini?
Very true. So, and if it was all for a good cause, again, me, I wouldn't mind that real estate. Hiyo yenye nikiangalia kwa income yangu nasema okay, hii tumekubaliana tugawane. But because it's not going to serve your needs.
Exactly. And that is the most painful thing. We do not, we only like kwenye hizi pesa zinaenda.
But for me, I think why it's important, it plays into the entire conversation that we've been having, that as you're striving to be a better individual, one of the things that you also need to be aware of is your environment. And unfortunately, your environment partially is politics, because the decisions that are being made up there will affect how you will eventually live as a person.
Yes.
So if you are oblivious to what is happening now to this aspect of your environment, then you will lose a lot. So what the example I'd like to give is, imagine a scenario where tuseme tu sahi Gen Zs, they hadn't read the constitution to know that that they can protest about the bill, the contentious bill. I want to call it contentious bill.
It is contentious. It's contentious.
Contentious bill. Then hawa ni watu tu wangeshinda tu hapo na hiyo frustration. And you see some of these decisions have real impacts to us as individuals, because you might not have any stress within your other aspects of your life, but because of the decisions that are being made there, now that's an external factor that is now building stress, ama inaweza kuwa the last stress bit that is now breaking your figurative camel, right? The last straw that is breaking
the camel's back.
So I think it's very important for us to not just have these conversations, but also to be involved in some way, shape or form. And I like how you put it earlier in saying that if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. Niwe ulisema, but you just said that
it's actually a quote by Martin Luther King Jr.
Niwe ulisema, but what you're saying was if you can't protest, go to social media, but for God's sake, just do something so that we are not all found in this pot of boiling water that we do not want to be. We can swing inside that pot mpaka tumwage nini chini, right?
True.
I don't want to sound insightful, but I'm just now trying to figuratively represent what will end up happening as long as you're doing something about what is happening, because it is clear that the seats out there are not serving us.
True.
We need to figure out a way to. And again, as you rightly mentioned, if you look at the cards that now the politicians have, and if you look at their trends, inakuaga miaka 3.5 za kufyeka, alafu mwaka 1.5 ya kupuliza. So you might even see that whatever is happening now is meant to now just serve as bits za kupuliza when it comes to 2027. So, and now again I'm calling back to everyone else who is seeing whatever is happening now. Bear witness, but don't just bear witness. Let us keep notes. I like that people are holding their various MPs, their various governors accountable for whatever actions they've done now. But let us not limit it to that, because naweza amka leo na kesho ni sahau. If we forget, that's where they win, because that is what they hope. That is actually what they're expecting. And if you look at the conversation around the finance bill, everyone is saying now the government what wanasema tuipitishe tuingie mambo ingine. And now the tactics again will be bombard you with so much noise that you even forget that there was a finance bill. And at the same time now they've put you into so much tax that now you need to figure out how you will be supporting yourself with all the tax in hand, right? So if I can request something, ukumbuke, remember what is happening, so that when it gets to 2027 we don't need to convince each other that this one is bad for us. All we need to say is we know who's going in and we know who's going out.
But I niko na woga, they tax us for the first 4 years, and then the last year they remove all the taxes, and then they're like, okay, now you see.
They won't remove, ni kupulizia. Utaona what happens is wataamsha barabara final year. Alafu waseme, now we need to finish that road, guys.
I need 5 more years to finish this thing.
Tuliwaambia tutaingia barabara. But remember what has happened year 1, 2 and 3.
But we need to be involved. And there's actually a quote here by Abraham Lincoln, which is it's quite apt by the to whatever we are talking about and what you've just talked about, what you've just mentioned. It says elections belong to the people. It's their decision. If they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters. Which is exactly what you're saying, that we need to be involved. We need to be invested in our politics and to know what is happening. Because if we just sit back and say, okay, me, I don't like story in our politics. I don't like me sit a vote. I won't vote. I never voted. I've never voted. These things will come back to.
Will come back to you.
Yes.
And again, call back to now. I know most of the millennials, that was the conversation for some time.
Yeah.
And now, it was now the effort of those who had done social sciences to alert you that, hey, you're wasting, as in you need to vote because you need to be involved, right? But as time goes by, more and more of that specific generation will say, yes, I need to vote. And I like that this generation, this is civics in action, right? I don't know the term for it because it
actually is.
And it means that already they are involved. So we are required, and I would confidently say, bila hii masikio kukua kwa ground hivi, we need to stand on business, kwa sababu hapa ni kuchezewa, tunachezewa. That mtu anaweza kaa na kuambie sasa hii ni mali ya government, you see, mali yangu. But I think that's what I
actually have a feeling, and actually this is not, I'm afraid I have this fear that
do I, hata mimi niko na I think in woga millennials, ile kucharaza yote tulikuwa tunacharaza tukiwa watoto ndio inaonyesha sahi. But it's good that we have gotten to a spot that you acknowledge your fear but you do it anyway. So again, call back to someone who was now shouting in the protests, if you lose your fear, they lose their power.
Which is a very, very powerful saying. If you lose your fear, they lose their power. And I think that has been the motto of even the protesters, that we need not to be afraid. Let us keep fighting and keep fighting. But I also have this feeling that because the protests have been mostly organized on social media. I have this feeling, this unsettling feeling, that this government might end up banning social media. TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. I don't know what you think about that. Because it has happened in other countries by the way. And I know this this government likes saying that it's democratic, they will never do something like that. But, even call back even to the Arab Spring in the 2010, 2011, 2012. Most of that was just the mobilization was through social media. And
very true.
They ended up causing, a lot of these aristocratic leaders to leave office. So I don't know. I have this feeling that we might.
I don't think it can get to that point. So many wheels have to be aligned. All the arms of a government would have to say in one voice that social media should be banned for it to work. I don't think.
Okay. I just have that fear. It's an very unsettling feeling that I've had ever since the protest began. And I just feel as though these politicians and the majority, they have the majority in parliament. They might just decide to to propose a bill
or ban social media for everyone else except them.
Because by the like you see the states in the US they actually did it, and Biden actually signed that bill into law. So now ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, has been given I think 1 year to either divest from TikTok, in other words sell TikTok to an American company, or
exit.
Or exit the American market. I actually foresee such a situation in Kenya, and considering our president has been very he's been rubbing very cozy with the West. They may just give him that playbook and tell him, you're having trouble with social media. Social media, just do this. Exactly. But I think if that happens, then itakuwa like even more fuel to the flame, because now people will be like, because Gen Zs na millennials ndio wanatumianga social media, so if you do it to them, they'll be like, because already sayera si wanasema wataongeza like bundles na nini M-Pesa transaction and vitu kaa hizo, so wakisema wanafunga social media, I think for them that will be the final,
the camel's back.
Yes,
and the straw.
Yes, exactly.
And I hope other short stories.
I hope you don't but I hope we don't get to that by the so I think as we finish, I'd like us to pay tribute to, there's a guy called Rex Kanyike Masai. He's a 29-year-old who was shot during the protest, and he sadly lost his life. And we want to pass our condolences to the family of Rex, the relatives, and all Kenyans as well, because I know he was fighting for what us Kenyans believe in, and he was representing us and our voice, and it's so unfortunate that it got to that, but we hope that he
came from a peaceful protest.
Yes, and that is, I think, one of the things that pains me a lot, because the protests are very peaceful, and I don't know why the police I don't know why the polipolice are
and they're obligated to protect the protesters.
I don't know why they're doing that.
It's their obligation.
Because trust me, if they just protect if they just protect the protesters, as in watu tu wata protest vizuri na waende home tu jioni.
And remember, whatever these people are doing is for them as well.
It's for the police, because the police are pia like pia wana tunanyanyaswa pia sisi wote. I don't know. It's
WhatsApp group same.
It's beyond me by the but
diabolical.
It's diabolical. But we really hope that peaceful protests will continue, and that the police will observe the rule of law. They will protect the protesters, and we shall not have any more people losing their lives. And that is our hope. So to the family of Rex, please, condolences zetu here from the Sport K. And may his soul rest in peace. So actually, by the way, there's another guy called, I don't know if you know this guy called Mohamed Bouazizi. He was a 26-year-old who set himself on fire in Tunisia, and then he ended up dying a few days later, from his burns. And that single event sparked the Arab Spring. And the president, I think it was Ben Ali, ended up alitolewa tu kwa nini a few weeks or a few months later. So like government they need to be very careful to wasi nini, like they should know us for ku ignore like what the people are saying. Just listen to what the people are saying, because the people wakiamua kukuja pamoja, anyway, I think we are done. So you just close for us, because I think this episode ran maybe like 2 hours if I'm not wrong.
It's 2.5 hours. But anyways, guys, that has been it from us for this episode. I think the episode imekuwa kuvent na kushare the experience of the week.
Because it's our way of actually taking part in the protest, because like we are saying, if you cannot go down there and demonstrate on the ground,
and yes, record it, do whatever you
use
can,
your nini,
use whatever
means,
whatever means you can to also just add on to the effort. Exactly. Because that is how we will I don't want to say win. That is how we will make this country better than it currently is.
Exactly.
There's so many of us with different talents and different capabilities. However it is, tukiungana ki-effort, we'll be in a better place.
True.
But again, that has been it from us for this episode.
This has been, I think we've never had an episode this long, eh? This is a record.
Kwanza kuna mahali inafaa iseme uncut. But ime turn out kuwa very political episode. Hii imekuwa ma-campaign na sijui manini. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. For the support that you've given us. For all that you have put in. Remember, we also just put in a lot of effort to come up with the information that is in any of these episodes.
Yeah.
If you like what you're seeing here, there are so many more episodes that we have that will incite you, that will enlighten you, that will give you just these are tools of life. Let me say tools of life, and we will make each other better people. That has been it from the Spot KE. Until next episode,
this is